Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am your host of this motivational and inspirational podcast. And today's thought of the day: when we are young, we learn. When we are old, we teach. As we grow up in our lives, when we start out as toddlers and then we go to school and we're teenagers and then we're young adults and then adults and then we're middle age and then we considered old, but I call them seasoned. I don't call them old, I just call them seasoned individuals. When you're young, you're spry, you're full of energy, you're full of life. You just like a sponge. You just soak up everything. And it's always good to provide young people with as much knowledge that you have as they are growing up. Because the more knowledge you put out there to this child, they grow up with this knowledge, and you're putting things in their toolboxes for later on down in their life. But when we get older, we start slowing down a bit. And instead of doing things where it's hard to do it, young people, they will go and do things. And when they go and do this process, they do it the hard way. But a wiser individual or a more seasoned individual will show them a better way. And they do that because they have that wisdom and that knowledge to be able to render to these young people. Now, I know that a lot of us, we will want to do our own thing when we're young. When we are young, we think we know everything. We think that we have the whole world in our hands, that the world is our oyster, and we can be anything in this world we want to be. But there is the hard way of doing things, and then there is the wise ways of doing things. We have two different ways. Now, most of the time, young people would do things the hard way. And they do it the hard way because no one can tell them anything. They don't want to listen. They feel like that their way is right. And what the older people are telling them is that, you might know, but I have a better way of doing this. Now, when they find out that they can do it, but there's a harder way of doing the process of whatever it is they're trying to do, and this older person come into the picture and do the very same thing, but just with a quicker and an easier way that is faster for them, that's economical for them, and they're sitting back drinking on some lemonade while this young person is still trying to figure out how to make it work. There's a process. When we're young, we're to learn. But we are to learn from those that have walked and tread in those footsteps. And they know what life is all about. Yes, they may take us the long way around the roses, and they may take us through the valley and through the garden. But when they are finished talking to us, we have something to hang on to. Wisdom you can't pay for. You can't pay for wisdom. You have to be around those individuals that are wise in everything that they do. And they had to learn. It wasn't that it came easy for them. They had to go through some stepping stones themselves. But they can recognize where something is going just by the conversation, just by a person's demeanor, or just by their attitude. They already know which way the wind is going to blow. And they know that because they've been around it enough to be able to forecast which way this whole process is going to go. Now, if they can sit down and they can tell you, okay, this is my advice to you, and they give you their advice, and they may give you a little history and behind why they say what they say. But if they are watching your body language and they see or hear that you rebuttal a lot, they already know that they're talking to you, but they're not hearing anything that you're saying. They already know this. But they say it anyway. And you know why they say it? Because eventually they're going to get through. Because at some point in your life, you're going to keep hitting your head against that brick wall. That every time you do things your way, on your process, and it fails, everybody else that watched you, they're either sitting back laughing, they're going their own way, they have left the scene, but that person, that seasoned, wise, and knowledgeable individual will be over in that chair rocking, looking at you, and be like, I knew this was going to happen. But I'll wait on them. They'll surely come my way again. Because they have the keys to what you're trying to do. They know that you want to be successful. They're not trying to keep you from being successful. They're just trying to show you how to be successful. And that's the difference. Young people learn, but older people or seasoned individuals, they have wisdom. And that gap is conversation. That's the gap. Because if you don't hear what these seasoned individuals are trying to tell you and teach you, you'll miss the boat every single time. And then you'll remember what they told you. When you're at a devastation in your life where you just don't have anyone else to talk to, anyone else to explain or to help you, you'll have to go back into your memory bank and remember what they told you. Because, see, they're not going to be here forever. God didn't promise them forever on this earth. They'll be here a little while, but not forever. But when they give you all the tools that you need, and they place each one of them in your toolbox, one day they won't be there anymore. And when they're not there anymore, you'll have to go back to that toolbox that they left for you. And you'll start pulling out everything and remembering everything that they ever told you about any situation that you have faced in your life. All you gotta do is not be so stubborn and say they don't know what they talking about. How do you think they got to be the age that they are? How do you think that they got to be where they are in their life, to be so successful, to be prosperous in their life? They didn't get there by being stupid. They didn't get there by not listening. At some point, they had to listen to somebody. Even if it comes to listening to themselves and say, you know, this is not working. And I'm going to have to get my act together. This is not right. And when you start talking to yourself and getting yourself out of this situation, then you have to go back to the grind and find out where did you go wrong and get it turned around. And one day, when you look around, you're going to see other young people in their lives struggling, and you're going to be the one that's wise. Because you'll be giving them that same advice that someone has given to you, and you'll be giving it to them. And understand, just like you didn't listen, they may not listen. But take note that one day, everything that you told them is going to come back to fruition in their life, and they're going to recall it and use those same tools that you passed down to them. Young people learn. Older people or seasoned people have wisdom. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.